So that was like the sixth day.
And many of them came to me and said, why don't you talk John Hart into taking that job with the Braves? He would be great for you, and especially great for the industry to have him back. We need to have John Hart back at work in baseball. And so I was motivated by that and came back and had my last and final conversation with this, my dear friend and great baseball executive, and was able to persuade him that this is the place to be. This is the organization that he can have so much of an impact on in a very positive and energetic way and get us to where we want to be, and that's at the very top, the gold standard baseball organization that we have always been regarded as. Here's the man who will be charged with leading us back to that position. My friend and our new president of baseball operations, John Hart.
Well, thank you very much, John. Just to borrow a little bit about what John was saying, when we were here a month ago on the transition team, I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do. I mean, I wanted to be a part of the transition team. I looked over, there was Bobby Cox, there's John Schuerholz, Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. I had my list of great candidates for the job, and we met as a transition team. We met quite a number of times talking about a lot of things Braves. We talked about scouting, we talked about development, we talked about the big league club, we discussed the things that these guys had seen there. And when we're in the meetings, invariably, I'd pull out my list and I'd say, okay, are we going to talk about the GMs? And sometime John Schuerholz would get up, he'd take a phone call, he'd go to the bathroom. Bobby Cox would start talking about the '95 World Series and, sort of reminiscent about taking us down in Cleveland. And but I think all along I did feel and know that that John clearly wanted me to take this job. And I think that again, when I looked at it and sometimes when you're at a stage, I mean, I've heard the '66 Sunshine Boys being passed around for some time. I look at my age and, You look up. I think part of it is you do have the gift that you can make the decisions you want to make in your own life. That's always a good thing, I think, in baseball to be able to do that. And I think this decision was made certainly because of my relationship with John. It was made because of the Atlanta Braves, who they are, where we want to go. Terry McGuirk. Quality people, I think, are going to be an attraction. And I think that this is it's a gold standard franchise, and I think that was certainly a big part of it. The other part is that the interim position that I had, I think allowed me not just to put my toe in the water, but I think to really get a feel for the really wonderful people that are here. And there's certainly a thank you from me to the people that are here. This is a lot of wonderful people that are within this organization, people that care greatly about it. And listen, I know how much John cares. I know how much Terry McGuirk cares and loves the Braves and wants the best for the Braves. It's a great thing, but there's a lot of other people here that feel exactly the same way. So I discussed it with my wife. Sandy and I have been married 44 years with my family. Got a very, very close family. We had, if you will, the perfect life. They all were in favor if it was what it was that I wanted to do, which I think it's a good thing. I think people that know me realize the close relationship that I do have with my entire family, and that's a big part of it as well. So, and I think there's another piece of it. Over the last 5 years, I've had the good fortune to be with the Major League Baseball Network. They've allowed me to keep my baseball fix along with the other advisor jobs that I've done in the game. As you guys know, I was with the Rangers for a number of years. I went to the network, and it's really a shout-out for the people there. Tony Bettiti's become a good friend. It was difficult to walk away from the producers, the directors, all the people that are involved in that great endeavor over there. It really is a wonderful thing. The decision ultimately comes down to, do you want to get back in the game? Do you want to compete? And I can honestly say to people that know me, I love to compete, doesn't matter what it is. I care greatly about doing it the right way. I love team building. I love players. I'm anxious to get to know our players, to get to know them better. The staff. Did I mention I like to compete? I think, yeah, I did mention that, because that is something that you do miss when you're not in this arena. This game sometimes can be a little bit of an evil mistress. She takes up your time and your energy and your focus, and you have to dedicate everything to her, and you're chasing this dream of the ring. And but along the way, you have a chance to connect with so many wonderful people. I examined it, and I looked at all the things that in my life, and I said that the most impactful things that have happened in my life have been around a baseball field, baseball diamond. You know, my best friends are people that I've either competed against, and I think any baseball guy is going to tell you that. So all of those were factors that came in, and I think that as I looked at the challenge in front of us, we have done a number of things here over the last 3 or 4 weeks in player development. I sat across from a Dave Trimley, sat across from a Gordy Blakely that we've added an international. I looked at the passion that these guys had for the Braves and what it was that they wanted to do. We made changes. We brought a Roy Clark back. We looked at Brian Bridges in scouting and all the staffing and all the people that they brought back into it. At the end of it, that's really the essence of what you do within the organization. And I think people need to know the decisions that are going to be made. And obviously, we're going to talk about the ball club because that's important. But the decisions are going to be made there. There's a lot of collaboration in decisions. And if you have great people that care, those decisions just evolve as you go along. And I look at the people we've been able to attract over here in the short time. It's been very, very good. One other thing, two other people actually I want to mention. Freddie and I have been working on putting the Major League staff together. We're close to finishing that off. And I say we because I really want Freddie to have he has had a major impact in the people that we're going to be bringing over and putting onto the staff. And the other is John Capolella. I'm sure that there'll be some questions about, what's going to happen, what about Copy. I think Cobby was a big part of the reason that I took this job. I mean, I've had a lot of people in a family tree, if you will, got young guys that have come through the office. Cobby is really good. I'm telling you, he's really good. And it's given me the ability to take some of my limitations where Cobby will be there to help figure that out. I think you're going to see a young man that's really going to develop and grow. So a lot of combinations there, a lot of reasons why. I'm excited about it. I'm energized. I'm passionate about it. Obviously, there's baseball questions that we're going to have. I can say this, that to the fans that are out there, to the Braves, that you want to expect that everybody that is associated with your team, with the Braves, is going to wake up every morning, and everything that they're going to be doing during that day is going to be trying to make that team and that organization better. And that's a pledge of mine that I'm clearly here to make. And I think it is for everybody that's in the front office. I love players. I think if you examine our ball club and you said, well, what the questions are going to be, what are you going to do with the club? What's going to happen? Look, there's a lot of teams out there now that are going to have a little more economics. Maybe they're going to jump out there. They're going to make some mistakes. There are going to be some clubs right now that are going to make some really good decisions. We want to be one of those clubs that makes the really good decisions in our player moves, our player acquisitions, what we do with our players. When I talk about loving players, and it's not just the star players, and I mean this, I think that it's hard to put into words, but over the years with all of the teams and things that I've been able to do in the game, you certainly love your star players, but I tell you, I love the winning players. I like the players with grit. I like players that care more about winning than anything else. It's a team game, and it is about winning. And we want to make sure we have those kinds of players that are here. From the staff, down through the players, through the front office, it's about winning. And those players are important. And I'm going to finish with this, that I think if you asked any of the players in our club, did we overachieve this year or did we underachieve? When you examine what, in fact, is this ball club and what do we need to do, my assumption is, and from the players that I've talked to, they're going to feel that there was more underachieving this year. And that's what we're going to attempt to address. We're going to attempt to change the dynamic to where this club is an overachieving club. Look, there are two teams playing in the World Series right now. There's only two standing, and I can speak from experience because I've been there, and I've been there with a low payroll. Don't let the money stand in the way. The Kansas City Royals are a lower market club. This club's got grit. This club comes to play. They were down and out when it got tough. These guys found a way to fight their way back into it, and here they are sitting in there playing for a chance to be the world's champion. The Giants the same way. They're tough clubs. And I think that when I look at what we try to do here, what we want to do, we want to be known as a tough club. A tough club. Don't come into Atlanta and expect to just roll right through here. It's going to be a hard place to play. And those are the kind of players we're going to attract. That's the message we want to send to our players. And I think we have them here. So probably ran over a little bit too long, John, but there it is. It's out.
Well, there is our new president, first ever president of baseball operations for the Atlanta Braves. And I will say this, John mentioned the work that had been done in transition. I can't say enough about the leadership he provided. First step on the ground, got up and running right away, took the interim general manager's position and embraced it as it were his own. And this was his to do for this organization, and the moves that he made, and he's already talked about many of them, the staffing we've done, the adjustments we've made, are remarkable, and they were under his leadership, and he, along with John Coppolella, did remarkable jobs in getting us to where we are today. We really, really are well positioned to go forward.
Okay, we'll open up to some questions. If you could raise your hand, we have some microphones. Please identify yourself. Mark, first question.
John, Mark Bowman with MLB.com. When as you started to dig into the job, I'm sure you kind of got that taste for the job again. Maybe that persuaded you to lean this way. Can you tell us maybe within the last week when you really started leaning this way, and was there something said or done that pushed you to say yes?
Well, Really a great question. I think at some point, I knew that the decision was going to have to be made. We're going to have to start bringing people in. The baseball calendar is continuing to roll. And as John said, we spent a lot of time on, sort of that pipeline piece that we talked about during transition, that we wanted to look at adding the right people. But at some point, the leadership was going to have to be in place. And John said, look, we're going to have to make this call. And so we met better part of the afternoon 3 or 4 days ago. And I knew where I was going to go by that time. But I think we had a visit and finished off a few things, a few pieces, if you will, and shook hands. And there he goes.
Hi, David O'Brien with the AJC. Let me ask you, this seems to be the trend, not trend, but there are a few teams that are doing the president of baseball operations thing, with highly successful GMs becoming, with the Dodgers, with Friedman, and then with Theo with the Cubs, and then still having a GM underneath them. I'm assuming you guys are still going to have a GM, or are you? And what does this new job, how does it differ from strictly a GM position?
Yep, it's an obvious question, of course. What we intend to do for now is to focus on this, to focus on the fact that John is going to be leading our baseball operations. He will have responsibilities of the president of baseball operations. He will have many responsibilities that a general manager of a team would have. And by his side, his right-hand man will be John Coppolella. They will work in unison together to continue to move this organization forward as they have done over the last 3 weeks and continue to grow it. We have no plans at the moment to add another person in our baseball operations organization. Between what John has done in the past, he's been a general manager for 15 years, successful one, executive of the year twice. He knows how to do that job. He has leadership, and Copy is anxious and raring to go, to grow and to learn and to enhance his ability as a baseball executive, and he will, working directly with this man in a remarkable way. And so it will be beneficial to John Coppolella. When you say John around here, 3 guys turn their heads. So Copy will be quite well benefited as a young executive to work at John's side and to do many of the things that some general managers do, that John will say to Copy, you have the authority, and empower him to do things. They will work in tandem very, very well. I'm absolutely certain of that. So we don't have that other title. We don't have a general manager. We have a president of baseball operations, which encompasses many of those elements, and he and Copy will work closely together. If that's not clear enough, I'll give you that answer again.
So does he have any additional duties on top of what a normal GM would have? Is there more power in the position, or is it more of a title?
John?
Yes.
Well, sure, he's president, and of course the president is all powerful, and he's a president of baseball. He's a president of baseball operations, and he's going to rule with a velvet glove and an iron hand, and that's how he is. And he's very persuasive. He's got great leadership personality. People respond to him very well. I've seen it already. I've seen it in the past. He's the best guy to be in this job. It was my best negotiations in my entire baseball career. Was 3 days ago.
Mark?
John Schuerholz. First of all, do you see Copy's title changing? And then secondly, both of you guys have been in the game for a long time. Have you ever had this kind of drastic reconstruction process for a front office?
I don't see Copy's title changing at the moment. I don't know how long I would suggest that will go, but for now we don't need to change titles. He will be John Hart's right-hand man. The president of baseball operations will have John Coppolella by his side as his right-hand man. Whatever characterization you want to give that. The Wright brothers, Batman and Robin, whatever, that's what they're going to be. They're going to be side by side working a plan. And I'm very, very confident that it will be done quite well. And I have never personally been involved in such a dramatic organizational realignment and leadership change in my time. So I'll let John respond to that as well.
Well, I think first, the obvious question regarding John and titles, and I've been, and I said this at the transition meeting that I've been fortunate in having a lot of young guys, that very smart guys that have gone on to become general managers. Very fortunate for me as a general manager to make those and have those kinds of talented guys that have become dear friends. I look at Coppy sort of in that same light. He's smart, he's bright, he's energized, he has experience, maybe some more experience than a lot of other guys have had. I don't think that it's appropriate at this time to if you're looking at titles, but John's going to have a lot of he's going to have a lot of authority within what we do within our baseball piece. He's going to pick up a lot of pieces within our front office as a GM would do. I think the only thing that John really lacks is the experience that hopefully, as we go through the next 12, 24 months, that John is going to continue to grow. So I feel very good about that. And I think as far as the changes within the organization, I mean, obviously you look, we've been reasonably stable with our major league staff. I think, again, Freddie is involved in trying to finish off the rest of the staff. I think we've looked at certain areas within, if you will, the pipeline that I had a different feeling as to where I thought we should go, what type of people we should bring in. And it's interesting, it's exciting because you've got some experienced guys coming in to lead departments that have a track record and guys that I've known and trust, and you have some young guys. And so it's a combination of both. I guess the common theme is all of these guys are driven. All of these individuals that are coming in are driven to do the job, and they know how to do the job, and they'll do it the right way.
Just going back to titles, I think when you hired the recent guys, you named them special assistants to the general manager, or did you name them special assistants?
I think some of them we did. Some of them we do. Some of them we did because those are the titles that attract people to the jobs, and they'll know who they're working for. They'll know. Yeah. We may clean up the media guide before it's printed for the season so that everybody's, if we have titles, we'll have parents with the actual job title is. So it'll be clear.
Charles?
We'll make it clear.
Charles Odom with Associated Press for John Hart. You mentioned missing the competition, that drive to compete. This timing of it coming in this middle of the World Series, did that kind of stoke the fires a little bit, the postseason fever?
Well, listen, it always does. I mean, that's where you want to be. Fortunately, I've been there twice. Unfortunately, we've gone home with the first runner-up. But it is absolutely, I think, the ultimate goal. I think when you look at successful franchises like the Braves, and I know I was fortunate in Cleveland, you don't win them all the time, but you have that ability to sustain a level of success for a lengthy period of time. That's really the key. And I think that is as big a part that drives you, because when you get in, you don't know. I mean, all you have to do is look up this year. You had 2 wild cards are playing in the dance right now. I mean, you're looking at all the big boys. They got bumped off. That's part of the fun of what you do when you get to postseason. And I think that's the drive. Is not only getting into the postseason and competing in postseason, but I think it's the process you go through to get there. I think if you asked any long-term executive, anybody that has been in the game a long time, if they don't love the process, which in fact means the people, the decisions that you make, how do you arrive at decisions, that is about as much fun as it is in playing the big game.
John, when you get into this, start digging into it, maybe those competitive juices flow, and you kind of become a part of this game. I know you were with the organization for an entire year, but you dig a little deeper. Was there ever any point where you said, you know what, this is maybe a little bit more than I want to take on at this point? Or was it more that competitive juice said, you know what, I will see this through?
It's a great question. I can answer it simply. I think professionally, I've always been inspired to do it. I think that, this has been, from a professional standpoint, I think the thing that, and I've had a lot of other chances over the years, to do some things, in this same capacity. And it's always been the personal piece of it that it hasn't worked for me. And again, I said that at the outset, that, it great good fortune. Players don't get to control their own destiny. Normally, general managers don't, managers don't. But I've been fortunate enough to be able to control my destiny in the last, 7, 8 years of my life. So there's there's always been a personal component there that I've had to come to grips with. John and I've talked about that a lot. And, that has been something that I've had to really get my arms around professionally. Look, I mentioned the network on there. There was more baseball talk, more film watched, more players studied, more, conversation with, from all different angles. It's like being in a front office. It's a lot of fun. But the personal piece, I think, Mark, was the thing I really had to get my arms around.
Corey McCartney from Fox Sports South. This is for John Schuerholz. Was the possibility of this scenario with a president of baseball operations, was that something that was, I guess, part of what was initially discussed with the transition team, or is this, you mentioned that trip to the World Series and then that final push, or was that something that you kind of came up too late?
Actually, in all of our conversations that John and I have had regarding this matter, that was the title, President Baseball Operations, was the one we talked about. It was never General Manager. It might have had General Manager on the end of it for a couple of conversations, but we didn't have calling cards big enough. So we decided to limit the title and explain, as we're doing today, how encompassing this position would be. It is President of Baseball Operations. It will have elements of general managing in it. It will have other elements in it. And with his right-hand man, John Capolella, who will assume some duties of a normal general manager, many of an assistant general manager, grow under John Hart's direction. It would be a wonderful combination, and that's what we have.
Charles?